Ladies and gentlemen, it is March. Welcome to The Era with Brian Gregory, brought to you by the Era Network. It's a beautiful month. We've got March Madness coming up. We will be covering that up and down on this channel, going into depth about the NCAA tournaments. And most importantly, we are on the cusp of the the NFL free agency period. It's an exciting month. We have MLB opening day, the WBC, the draft coming up. We have really, really, really fun times ahead of us. And this will be a football focused show, first and foremost. Today, we're going to be talking about the hottest NFL free agency rumors, where we see some of the best players in this year's free agency cycle going. Do they stay where they're at, or do they seek greener pastures? We'll be going into depth about some specific teams as well and what their potential moves might be. And I want to address the Josh Heupel hot seat talk. I heard it in the weeks following the college football season. It got brought up a couple times in February. I saw on Twitter. I saw some articles about it. I just want to address it because I think it's ludicrous. And I'm going to explain why in this show. If you're new here, please subscribe to the Era Network. We're building this thing brick by brick, and I would love for you to be a part of it. So hit that subscribe button. I'd really appreciate it. So without further ado, let's get into these NFL free agency rumors. We're going to start with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, of course, the most pressing question for the Vikings going into the cycle, going into this new NFL year, is going to be, what's the situation regarding the quarterback position? Are you going to roll with JJ? Are you going to get somebody else? Well, I think it's a little mixture of both for the Vikings, because even though they moved on from Adolfo Mensa as their GM, it seems like the thought process continues to be, we're going to keep our faith in JJ. We're not going to move off just yet. But with that said, we're going to bring in some competition to test JJ and essentially to light a fire under his ass. Get some competition there. See if you can push him to be his best, because you always up your level of play when you've got somebody else breathing down your neck. And I think that's what J.J. McCarthy needs. He's shown good signs, but he's also shown some destructive signs as well. And so the Vikings really need to pinpoint what they have in him, and the best way to approach that is to bring in some competition. The two names that stick out to me for his competition would be two quarterbacks that I foresee getting released. And it's Kyler Murray from the Cardinals and Geno Smith from the Raiders. I would prefer Kyler, but Geno wouldn't be a terrible option either, because I don't know how long-term the solution is going to be. The Vikings essentially just need somebody to test JJ, to see what they've got, to up his level of play. They need a quarterback competition because he's not their bona fide starter. He's not their confirmed starter. They don't have all faith in him moving forwards. They got to test him a little bit more, but some competition is what's perfect for him right now. So that's what I see them exploring. And then, of course, they're looking to right some of the wrongs that they've made these past several years. The Vikings are likely to release Javon Hargrave and Aaron Jones going into free agency here. So that's the scoop on the Minnesota Vikings. Let's move on to South Beach and talk about the Miami Dolphins and what's going to happen with that quarterback situation. Because right now, they're trying to trade Tua, but because of his contract, there's not a lot of teams out there that really want to absorb that. So the Dolphins keep on running into a brick wall. They may just have to end up releasing Tua at some point. And it sounds like we've heard this get echoed by Sully, the Dolphins GM, on several occasions now. It's not looking like they want to go out and get a guy. Whether it's a veteran, whether it's a quarterback who's played a few years, they don't want to go out and get a guy. They don't want to draft a quarterback this year. The Dolphins want to rock with what they have in-house. And by that, I mean Quinn Ewers. They really want to see what they have in Quinn Ewers. And to be honest, I don't blame them, because here's the philosophy that I've always had with teams in the position that the Dolphins are in. There really is no scenario where you're realistically going to be competing for a championship, AFC championship, Super Bowl, whatever. There's not a scenario where that's a reality. So that shouldn't be your focus. You shouldn't be afraid of, quote unquote, tanking. Not deliberately, but you shouldn't be afraid of having a 4 or 5 win season, because at the end of the day, you're in the rebuilding phase. So the higher draft pick you have in 2027, which is expected to be a lot better of a quarterback class, the better you are. I'm not certain that Ewers is going to translate. We saw some good things out of him last year, but he wasn't very consistent at all. If he's an absolute tire fire, it doesn't matter for the Dolphins this year, because you're going into this season with the baked-in expectation that it's a rebuild year. It's a gap year. It's your first season with Hafley as your head coach. There's no real expectations this year. This is very much like 2019 for the Dolphins. You're moving off of a lot of guys. You're saying goodbye to Bradley Chubb. You're saying goodbye to Tyreek Hill. You're saying goodbye to Minkah Fitzpatrick. I mean, you've committed. You know what your direction is. So I completely agree with Sully when it comes to this strategy. Why go out and get a guy? Why put the capital in the draft capital into getting a quarterback this year? Just be patient. Wait till next year and see what you got. You use a draft pick on Quinn Ewers anyway. You might as well see what you got in him. So that is the latest on the Miami Dolphins right now. Let's go to the desert. Let's talk about the Arizona Cardinals, because like I prefaced a few minutes ago, the report came out this afternoon that the Cardinals are going to be releasing Kyler Murray. That'll be announced here in a few days once they're ready. And they will be bringing in a new quarterback for the Mike LaFleur era, as you should, because if you're a first-year head coach, unless you've got a guy like Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Justin Herbert and such, Matt Stafford, I'd really be looking to bring my own guy in anyways. Bring a new guy in. Why not? Start fresh. Start from page one. And that's what Mike LaFleur is looking like he wants to do right now. That's what the Cardinals organization is aligned with right now. Releasing Kyler Murray, moving on from that era, turning the page. So there's several options that they can go with. Malik Willis, Tyson Bagent, Kirk Cousins. I think that Malik Willis is hands down the Cardinals' best option right now, because he has familiarity with a lot of people in the organization. He has ties with Mike LaFleur. Mike LaFleur's brother was his head coach last year. He has ties with Monty Ossenfort. He was working for the Titans when they drafted him back in 2022. And he has ties with Nathaniel Hackett, the Cardinals' new offensive coordinator. He was on the Packers staff last season. And I think in a lot of ways, Malik Willis kind of fits what Mike LaFleur wants to do in Arizona. Now, is there some concern about how much he's going to demand, between $20 and $30 million a year? Yeah, and I get that, but it's better than 45. It's better than 50 a year. So I think that risk might be worth the Cardinals taking. And out of the guys I mentioned, I think that he's your sure shot. Kirk Cousins is a great leader. He's a veteran, but I think he's very much over the hill at this point. And Tyson Bagent, while he has great upsides, he can also make some very risky decisions as well. Malik Willis never threw an interception in his entire time at the Packers. I think that he's the best guy that you can have paired with Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison at the start of Mike LaFleur's tenure in Arizona. Let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys. We saw the other day they're likely going to tag George Pickens. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds in these coming weeks. And their glaring liability is their linebacker room. I made a reel about it yesterday. I think that they should be aggressive with getting a young guy like Sonny Styles. I'd be down to see the Cowboys do that. But if they want to take the free agency routes, I think that Nakobe Dean from Philly, which would be crazy going from Philly to Dallas. But you know what it is. Business is business. I think that could be another option for the Cowboys as well. But they are absolutely, whether it be free agency or the draft, that is the position that they will have the most emphasis on going into this new NFL year, this free agency cycle, the draft cycle. Okay, those are the teams. Actually, no, forget that. There's two other teams I want to talk about. The Denver Broncos is another one because this is the first NFL year, first NFL calendar year, where the Broncos are free of the Russell Wilson debt. They have a little more money in their pocket. They have a little more coin. And while that Denver defense was ferocious last year, they have some points that they need to emphasize on offense. They have some holes on offense. I think they can enhance that running back room. I think they can enhance their tight end position. I think they could bring in a receiver. And given the Broncos' strategy the past several years, I think it'll be nothing new. I think that it'll be a hybrid between using free agency and using the draft. And I wouldn't be surprised to see them bring several names in on offense during free agency, but I think that they could be a little aggressive with that pick that they had in the first round. I could even see them trading up. They'd be crazy not to be a little bit aggressive for Kenyon Sadiq. He's a unicorn tight end. He's very fast. He has great hands. He's physical. He reminds me a lot of Vernon Davis. And look, I love Adam Troutman as much as the next guy. But Kenyon Sadiq is 100% an upgrade from him. So, again, could see the Broncos using a hybrid strategy, free agency, draft, and the Atlanta Falcons. This is the last team I want to talk about. And really just one position, the quarterback position. Kirk Cousins is going to be gone. They're releasing him. That was announced the other day. I was really pulling for Michael Penix Jr. I thought it was crazy when they drafted him with the number 8 overall pick back in 2024. But I've always pulled for him. I've always pulled for his story. But I'm going to be honest. The guy is very injury prone, number one. And number two, I don't really see the same upside that I saw 2 years ago. And the Falcons have a window here. Bijan and Drake London here on their rookie contracts. Like this is a year you want to capitalize on. I think that Kyler Murray could be a guy they could go after, but I think that they should make a trade with the 49ers. I know it's bold, but I think they should try to get Mac Jones. Because he's one of those guys, like a Sam Darnold to me, or even like a Baker Mayfield's. Played for a stable organization for a couple of years, and now is a foundation. Now, he started with the Patriots, who were at the tail end of competing, going into a rebuild. I think he lost his confidence a little bit, and I think he's gained back in San Fran, just like Sam Darnold did. And now he's ready to go be a starter somewhere else. You're throwing to Drake London. You're throwing to Kyle Pitts. You got Bijan in the backfield. You got Algier in the backfield. I think that could be a really good pairing. So expect the Falcons to make a move at quarterback in this free agency cycle. All right, let's talk about individual players. We're going to start with A.J. Brown here because it was seeming really convincing that there was going to be an A.J. Brown trade. But now it's not as likely because Howie Roseman, this Eagles front office, they're playing hardball. And their asking price is really, really high right now. And a lot of teams, quite honestly, they're not messing with it. They don't want anything to do with it because they know he's 28 years old, so he's right in that athletic prime right now. If you use a lot of your cap space on him, you spend a lot of money on him, what if his production goes down? That's cause for concern. I love A.J. Brown, but he also brings a lot of noise with him. And that's something that all NFL organizations look into. If you're okay putting up with it, as long as he produces, that's one thing. but you know what you're getting into with that. It's just going to be a thing. He's one of those guys. I love AJ Brown, but he always gives the media the sound bites that they want, and they always run with it. There's been a lot of drama with him in Philly these past couple of years, and it would probably be the same thing wherever he goes. But he's also a great guy to have in the receiving core, and for teams out there with a young quarterback like the Patriots with Drake May, the Titans with Cam Ward, maybe you make the move. It'll be interesting to see. They're going to have to spend some money. Both those teams have decent cap space, though, especially the Titans. Let's talk about Max Crosby for a second. I'm going to be honest. I don't know what the fuck is going on here. I don't know what to believe. I literally see conflicting reports every other day with this guy. The other day, it seemed like it was inevitable that he was going to leave the Raiders just because the situation seems beyond repair with the whole injury report situation leading up to the Giants game, how pissed off he was about that. It seemed like his relationship with the Raiders was beyond repair. And even though they just gave him an extension last offseason, last free agency cycle, it's looking like they were looking to do what they have to do to move on from him, see if they could find a suitor, somebody who wants to take on his contract. He's getting close to 32, so that's something you got to keep in mind as well. And Max Crosby has to request a trade too. That's part of this whole situation. But then I saw a report that it's been quiet on that front, and he may indeed stay in Vegas. And then I get a report an hour ago on Bleacher Report that's likely he's not going to stay in Vegas. So I don't know what the hell to believe. And this is not a speculation show, so I'm not going to sit here and speculate on it either. But what I will say is that if he is to go to another team, I could see him going to the Patriots. I expect them to be aggressive after falling short in the Super Bowl, having some money to spend. They know that they got there, but they know they have to make some reparations here to get back to the Super Bowl at some point. The Lions, because outside of my boy Hutch, that pass rush is really thin. I could see them making a move. The Eagles will be moving some things around their defensive line. That could really be becoming richer situation given their defense, but that could be what happens. And the Cowboys tried to get Crosby at the deadline last year. They didn't get him. Will they make another push? That's a question. Okay, Mike Evans. If he doesn't stay in Tampa, here are the options for him. It's likely going to be a contender who's trying to win now. So the Chiefs, I expect the Chiefs to do some things in the draft and in free agency to enhance the offense because both the receiving game and the run game were not to the Chiefs' standard this past year. That's an understatement. I think we'll see them make some major moves this offseason. Mike Evans could be one, as well as Tyreek Hill. The Chargers, I think, could really make a push for him too because Ladd McConkey, the past 2 years, his seasons don't start off strong. He peaks towards the ends, but he's not consistent. QJ has never been consistent. They may keep Keenan Allen, but he's getting up there in age. What I'm saying is that receiving room could use a little bit of help, and Mike Evans could be the guy. And yes, like the Titans, the Chargers have a lot of money to spend. The Bills, not as much money to spend, but how badly do you want that Super Bowl? That receiving core they had this year is not going to get done. I think they should do what they can to get a guy like Mike Evans. And then the Ravens. He would be one of Lamar's best targets yet and could absolutely be the guy that helps push the Ravens over the hill. Again, another team with a window. Because Lamar Jackson, I'll be honest, I don't know how many good years he has left. The style of play that he has, I think that he has around 3 good years of Lamar-style football left. And then I think that he's going to start to decline. Derrick Henry, you've got about 2 years left. So this 2-3-year window for the Ravens, it's Jesse Minter's first year. There's a lot of urgency in Baltimore right now, and Mike Evans could be a great guy to add up there. And then, of course, the Broncos, too, because, like I said, they need some receiver help. Okay, this is a big name right here. Center Tyler Linderbaum, set to be a free agent. Now, he could stay in Baltimore. This Ravens front office could really prioritize him. If he doesn't, there's 2 places I see him going. The Giants reuniting with John Harbaugh, going back to an old coach, he could want his center back. And they could use it because your offensive line, you're only as good as your center, right? And that Giants offensive line has lacked leadership, has lacked direction these past couple of years. You have a young quarterback in Jackson Dart. You have a great receiver in Malik Neighbors coming back. You've got Scadaboo coming back. You've got first-year head coach coming in. Really being persistent with the changes here in this building. I think that bringing a new center would be huge for the Giants this year. So I could see him going there, and I could also see him going to the Chargers because Bradley Bozeman retired. That's done. He's no longer a Charger. And Andre James is good, not great. And so Tyler Linderbaum would absolutely be an upgrade. And again, you got Joe Alt coming back. You got Rashawn Slater coming back. This Chargers line will be better. But if the Chargers want to be taken seriously as Super Bowl contenders, it has to be enhanced. And you're only as good as your center. You bring in a guy like Tyler Linderbaum, that changes everything. All right, Jalen Phillips with Philly. 3 suitors that I see for him. The Commanders, which would be bad news for Philly. You never want to see him go to a division rival, but after last year, they want to enhance that pass rush. The Chargers, they're looking to enhance their pass rush here as well because both Owe and Khalil Mack are looking like they're going to be free agents. They may keep one, but one is likely to go. And then the Patriots, of course, looking to enhance their edge rush as well, their pass rush as well. Trey Hendrickson. Now, this would have to be a tag and trade scenario with the Bengals, but I could see him going to the Colts. They want that pass rush to get better. The Commanders or the Patriots. He's a guy who is getting up there in age, so that's a risk that you have to be aware of going into this. But those are 3 reasonable suitors I could see for Mr. Hendrickson. And then lastly, I'm going to end with Kenneth Walker. I still can't believe that the Seahawks are going to move off of him more likely than not because he just won Super Bowl MVP. But business is business. They know they're going to have to pay JSN a bag. They know that they're going to have to pay Witherspoon a bag. You've got a dog like a Marie coming up. You're probably going to have to pay him here in a couple of years. They have $72 million in cap space, which is a lot. But there's some big contracts that Seattle's going to have to worry about down the line. Darnold could be one down the line here in a few years. You've got to plan for the future if you're Seattle. So Kenneth Walker, while you appreciate what he did this year, it's a running back. And you can get one in free agency. You can draft one. While I love Kenneth Walker, you've got to acknowledge the reality that he's not Christian McCaffrey. He's not Derrick Henry. He's not Jonathan Taylor. He's a really good running back. He's not an elite running back. He's not Saquon Barkley. So that's how you have to approach the situation. That's what any great GM would do. And John Schneider is one of the best in the business. So I trust a sense of direction here. So knowing that they're going to be moving off of him more likely than not, I see the Chiefs being a suitor. That running back room was way below their standard last year. The Texans could be a suitable option as well, and then the Broncos. That's where I think he's going to go. I think Kenneth Walker will be a Bronco. My only concern is that one of these teams are going to overpay for him, perceiving him to be one of the better running backs in the league, to be an elite running back, when he's a really good back. But I've seen teams fall into this trap, a guy coming off of a strong end of the season, a Super Bowl MVP campaign. He had over 1,000 rushing yards last season. You got to keep in mind that he was split with Charbonnet too. But I just don't want to see one of these teams overcompensate. But that could most likely be the situation here. All right. That is all of my free agency rumors for now. We are now going to shift gears and talk college football. I want to acknowledge some of the grumblings I've heard over the past couple weeks, the past 2 months about Josh Heupel potentially being on the hot seat going into the season or even during the season. He's a little bit under fire right now after the Vols just went 8-5 last season, and I think that a big linchpin in all of this was their bowl loss to Illinois. They had a lot of starters playing in that game. There's no excuses. You were the better team. You should have won that game. And so I get why a lot of Volunteer fans were pissed off at the outcome of that game. And then, of course, the Georgia game really stung last year, getting blown out by Alabama on the roads, and then losing at home to your in-state rival Vanderbilt. I think that really ruffled some feathers in Knoxville as well. So I understand that. I acknowledge all of that. But I want to remind Tennessee fans and media in Knoxville, Nashville, and beyond of something here when it comes to Mr. Heupel. Remember the situation that he inherited. Remember the situation that he walked into in Tennessee when he was hired back in 2021. Tennessee was coming off of a 3-7 COVID truncated season in 2020. They were just coming off of that whole McDonald's bag scandal, the Jeremy Pruitt era. It was a sad time in Knoxville. And do me a favor and place yourself back in 2020. What's your perception of Tennessee? Because I'll tell you what mine was. I'll tell you what their perception was for the vast majority of the college football landscape. They were viewed as the laughingstock of the SEC. They were viewed as the laughingstock of college football, that once great football program that had fallen off and become a joke. And I want to articulate this as an Alabama fan, how I viewed them as an opponent. Because for years, they were a team, you saw them on our schedule, and you're like, oh, that's a win. Whether it's in Neyland's or Bryant-Denny, it's like, oh, that's a win. That's an easy win. 2021 beyonds, that was not the case. Because even in 2021, even though at Alabama kind of took off in the second half, they expanded their lead in the second half of that game. Tennessee really challenged the Tide in Bryant-Denny in 2021. And then, of course, we know what happened in 2022. The Vols are up 20-7 at halftime in 23. Bama loses in Tennessee in 2024. And again, even though we pulled away in the second half in 2025, or going into halftime, it was tight for a lot of that game. So point is as a Bama fan, I don't view Tennessee as a pushover opponent anymore. And it's because of the presence of Josh Heupel. I just wanted to illustrate that. That's how he has enhanced and transforms that program. It's culture. It's recruiting. Tennessee can get guys that they were not able to get before because they have a coach like Josh Heupel that players want to play for. There's a different way that Tennessee goes about their business now because Josh Heupel is in the building. Okay, I can't emphasize this enough. We've seen it happen a lot these past several years where we know what coaches have done at a respective program. We know what James Franklin did at Penn State. Yes, did they get to the promised land like they wanted to? No, they didn't, and I acknowledge that. But he resurrected Penn State from the Sandusky era, and that can never be forgotten. Okay, people are trying to run Dabo out of the building. And Clemson right now. He brought that school 2 national championships. And this is what Josh Heupel has done for Tennessee since he's been there. Like I said, 2020, Tennessee was 3-7. Well, in 2021, they improved to 7-6, which is good. Not where they wanted to be yet, though. Not at the Tennessee standard just yet. Won 11 games in 2022. Won the Orange Bowl against Clemson. They were 11-2. Beat Bama. Iconic season. It was the Tennessee's back on the map season. 2023 went 9-4. 2024 10-3. Clinched their first ever CFP berth. I know they got blown up by Ohio State, but they were there. 2025 8-5. And that's another thing that I want to remind people of is the perception of Tennessee going into 2025. A lot of people, myself included, Tennessee fans included, viewed 2025 as a rebuild season. You had the whole Nico situation happen. A rebuild, retool kind of season. You weren't going into the season with the quarterback you expected. And then you get into the season, Jermod McCoy is hurt. not available for a lot of the season. Your best corner. It was kind of a disaster. There's uncertainty about who your quarterback was going to be. Of course, they went and got Joey Aguilar, and he ended up exceeding a lot of people's expectations. So that was great. That patched up a lot of holes, but we didn't really know. I like Chris Brazzell. I mean, there's great players all around this team. I love Bishop. He's a great running back. We didn't know what this Tennessee team was going to be. Like, there was no certainty of, this team's going to compete for an SEC title. This team's going to compete for a playoff spot. This is kind of a retool year. Let's see what it is. And Heupel still had this team at 8-4 at the end of the regular season, 8-5 for the whole season as a whole. That's damn good. Given the circumstances, this could have been a 6-6 team. If you would have told me that Tennessee was 6-6, 7-5 last year, I wouldn't have been surprised. He put lipstick on a pig last year. And that's another thing I want to get into here. Any great head coach is great at crisis management. And Josh Heupel showed me who he is based off of how he approached the Nico Iamaleava situation last spring. Nico starts his whole thing with, I want to be paid more. I'm going to sit out of practice until I get what I want. And Josh Heupel pretty much said, yeah, we'll shove it up your ass. You're out. You want to do this sitting out of practice shit? You're not playing for my team. He showed me who he was in that moment. He showed me what he believes and what his values are as a head coach and the culture that he wants in his program. He said, no way, we're not doing that. Hit the road. And on to UCLA he goes. And some coaches could have said, oh, well, shit. Now I don't have a quarterback going into this year. Crisis management. Back to the drawing boards. Let's be calm. Let's assess the scope here. Let's assess the whole landscape. Who can we go after? Get a guy with real good upside from App State and Joey Aguilar. Or, excuse me, at the time, UCLA, Joey Aguilar. And, like I said, he exceeds expectations this year. So, rebuilding a team, transforming a team that was once in a really bad spot, and not a lot of timing. He had this team from 3 wins to 11 wins in 2 years. That is damn good. And then he has a whole situation like the Nico situation happened last year. Navigates it like a boss. That's pretty damn good as well. If you can't tell, I'm really supporting Josh Heupel here. I think that he's a real good head coach who gets a lot of unnecessary shit, who catches a lot of unnecessary strays, and I'm tired of it. As an Alabama fan, I'm backing Josh Heupel here. Now, I can see the train going off the tracks here. I mean, they've got some tough games on their schedule coming into the season. They have Texas, Bama, A&M, LSU. It's a workable schedule, but there's some losable games. I can see the scenario happening again where Tennessee goes 8-4 and people are calling for his head. All I'm saying is, Tennessee fans, be careful what you wish for and appreciate what you have, because you do have one of the better head coaches in the game, whether you realize it or not, whether you want to admit it or not. And he's also facing another another fork in the roads at the quarterback position, because Joey Aguilar is not returning. We know what the results of that case was. We know what the verdict was on Aguilar. So it's either going to be George McIntyre or Faison Brandon. That's going to be the quarterback battle this year. Do they go with the young phenom Brandon, or do they go with the other 5-star McIntyre? They've got 2 5-stars ready to go. There's uncertainty, but the upside is high for Tennessee. But you're losing guys like Jermod McCoy, you're losing guys like Chris Brazzell, so you'll have to backfill there. But I have no doubt that Tennessee has the depth to take care of that. I just have to say, Tennessee fans, appreciate what you have. And for anybody who says that Josh Heupel's on the hot seat, I have to disagree, because I think that Tennessee's administration is on board with what he's doing here. And I think that any reasonable Tennessee fan out there will tell you that they appreciate what he's done. And there are guys going into the season on the hot seat. Josh Heupel is not one of them. That's all I got to say. All right. That's a show. That's a wrap. We're 35 minutes in. It's Sunday, so you know what that means. It is time for your boy to have his Sunday steak. We'll be coming at you this Thursday with the Close Call. Me and Luke Close will be on talking about college basketball going into the last weekend of the regular season. And, of course, a lot of March Madness stuff coming up, free agency. Going to be a really fun month. But let me know what y'all think about the show here in the comment section below. Don't forget to subscribe. Thank you all for watching. Have a great day.